Welcome back to the program. This is Capital Market and we're live on Channels Television. Now, before we went on break, I introduced Niyi Olakunrin, head trader at Lead Securities and Investment Limited, who was giving us insight on Nigeria's $1 billion program that surpassed expectations during the week. But significant to Nigeria's macroeconomic environment is the implication of this bond program to the nation's debt profile and its capital importation. And so, Niyi, thanks again for being still hanging around. But then basically, let's look at how investors were able to price in the risk of this asset at this time to the tune of, I think we should be saying $8 billion now.
Yeah, basically, despite the ratings that Fitch and S&P gave us, downgrading our credit rating to about B+, we should realize this, that in terms of what the potential that this country has, it's quite massive, and an astute investor would actually know that, taking position for the long term would actually make sense. The bond was oversubscribed basically because the economy is in a recession. The government is trying to do everything within its power to actually get us out of the recession. So they're actually borrowing money to actually pull us out of the recession. If everything works out according to plan, 2.2 billion barrels per production per day would actually push our income generated from foreign exchange and all that. Currently in the budget, we actually budgeted about $42.5 per barrel. It's currently at $55 per barrel, so oil price is up. So those are actually some of the things that they factored into it, actually determined the price. If, for example, the foreign exchange issue we had, if our naira had been devalued, we'll probably even pay lower yields on the bonds. But 7.8%, it's not bad.
But if that's the case, if we have this much prospects, why would the rating agencies, S&P and Fitch ratings, downgrade our outlook, especially on our credit rating?
Well, they mentioned some Fitch ratings. Actually, I read it on Wednesday, and they mentioned some factors. First and foremost, the major bone of contention is the forex issue. Okay, it's the forex issue. We have about 9 rates. When you want to look at how much the dollar is right now, it's like in 9 places, 9 where you can actually go and check, which is actually bad for us. An investor bringing his money in will bring his money at X amount and will not be sure of what price will he take his profit out. So that was one of the major issues. The forex liquidity as well, also having foreign exchange, what's going on, the restriction and all that. That's another major factor. Then low oil production, they factored all that in. Now we should not forget that this a lot of things we are actually doing is estimates. If government doesn't, concerning oil, for example, if government still doesn't get it right with the Niger Deltans, all the bombings and sabotaging that's been going on will still affect production. But if they can get it right, and then all the deals with OPEC, oil operation companies, countries around the world, if they still live up to their deal of cutting down production, and we are not part of that, so we can still, if we can still maintain that 2.2 million barrels per day, it augurs well for Nigeria as a whole.
So let's look at the repayment plans, redeeming the bond in the future. Do you think we will be able to get enough from oil price stability at $60 per barrel? And like you said, if the federal government is able to reach a truce with the militants in the Niger Delta, to quell this old militancy level and attacks on oil facilities? Okay,
in terms of that, the 1 billion euro bond was raised basically to finance capital expenditure. Now, in doing that, what really matters is the management. If they stick to the plan and they actually use that funds to do what they actually plan to do, it's basically fixing roads, the railway system, just trying to get things going. It will actually aid our diversification plan. A good example is if they have the light rail system, bringing in raw commodities. And let's say, if I have to remind you, Nigeria, we have a lot of raw commodities untapped. Right. So an example is bringing maybe tomatoes from the north. A person bringing in a truck will come all the way to Lagos here, for example. Half of it will probably be spoiled, squashed, break down on the roads and all that. But by the time we have our light rail system, it reduces the cost, it increases more production. The agricultural diversification plan that they are doing, all this will actually increase revenue for Nigeria in the long term. We have to, the major point is we have to diversify and look away from oil being our only source of revenue. If you do that, I actually see us paying that debt in 15 years. You know, the bond is for 15 years. It's for 2032. Yeah. And prior to this time, if I must say, this is like the third time we're actually doing something like that. The first one was for 5 years. I think 500 million. Yeah. The second was, I think, 1 billion, but in two tranches, 500 million. So we've actually gone once, and they were all oversubscribed. So it was a success. So we actually gone once, we've gone twice. So this is the third time. And I actually believe that we can actually pay it. Yeah.
It brings me to the debt profile of the nation and debt to GDP ratios. You are more like the federal government's $1 billion Eurobond. But some people will disagree. A lot of analysts like you have said that we haven't even raised this as much as we need to the extent that we can get 100 trillion naira, you know, to finance our deficit across infrastructure in this country. But would you say that the debt profile is not rising beyond the median?
Oh, well, like you said, I'm pro...
with the $1 billion US dollar.
Because we're in a recession, and to get out of the recession, we actually need to spend money. Nigeria needs to raise money, and our main source of income right now is a no-no. You know, prices drop in oil and all that, so we have to sit down and reconsider a lot of things. And by raising this bond, raising the bonds, our debt to GDP ratio is about 14%. Yeah, I don't think it's too large. I think it's actually okay. But the major bone of contention, like I said earlier, is the management. Right. If we can get it right, we have to go through this maybe for the next 4 or 5 years. But if we can get it right, the potentials are there. So I actually believe it's a good one. I know a lot of people have actually argued against it, but that's the way forward. We actually need this foreign direct investment or portfolio investment in Nigeria to help us boost the economy, to help us stimulate the economy, to help us restart the economy.
Okay, so let's look at issues around capital importation. The last of the data released by the National Bureau of Statistics says that Nigeria saw a decline of 15% in terms of quarter-on-quarter and 5% year-on-year to 1.5 million US dollars when it comes to capital importation. Now, what would you say this really means for our capital importation going forward, especially with the fact that this is the first quarter of this year and we still have 3 more quarters to go? Is this going to have any sort of implication, basically, in 2017 in Nigeria?
Well, concerning the capital importation, $1 billion, to me, yeah, it will enter the system, but I don't really think it will really do any major shift. But to me, it will represent a signal to foreign investors that you can actually come. Yeah, they're taking the risk. It's highly speculative, but higher risk, higher returns. So with that, I actually believe it will help with the capital importation. But if you don't get the major problem right now is that rigid foreign exchange rate issue that's going on. If we don't get that right, a lot of people will still stand on the sideline.
Let me just cut in here. This same bond is also going to be listed on the FMDQ OTC as well as the Nigerian Stock Exchange. But on the NSC platform, we haven't been seeing much trading on bonds. What do you make of that? Well, will this be the game changer for stockbrokers?
Well, we hope so. For the past 1 or 2 years, the Nigerian Stock Exchange has really been trying to get people interested in bonds. Even the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers have all the CPD programs where they invite brokers to actually come and learn more about bonds. I think the last time, even the commission rate was actually capped at 1%, trying to encourage people to bring. I feel it will at least let some people pick up interest in the bond market.
And of course, shape the whole discussion for investors in terms of their decision as well.
Yes, because
Olakunrin, thank you very much. We really don't have much time. We really have to go right now. Thanks so much for coming on Capital Market. We do hope to have you again. It's your first time here, but we sure will have you again. Thank you very much. But let's look ahead, viewers. Next week, we hope to have the National Bureau of Statistics release the CPI, the inflation rate for the month of January. A lot of analysts have projected increase in that to the 18.7%. And of course, the Debt Management Office is going to be auctioning 110 billion naira. The dates, there you have them on the screen, Wednesday, 15th of February. Well, that's all the time we have again on Capital Markets this weekend. I'm Temple Ashaju. Thank you very much for watching. Join us to continue the conversation on Twitter, and I'll see you next time.